Jack was very negative. You know, he was trying to spoil an awful lot. You know, every time I was trying to get close, he was spoiling and holding on tight. You know, and just holding and grappling with me. You know, it was very frustrating. You know, and the referee did the right job to take a point off him, because he was kept, every time I got in close, he was holding on for dear life and spoiling me. He was holding on for dear life and spoiling me. He was holding on for dear life and spoiling me. You know, he wasn't sort of being defensive or anything like that. He was coming in and then holding me and holding on, hugging on to me.
What's good, family? Shout out to my membership, Doggy, here today for sponsoring your man the YB and his dire coin situation, no doubt. So we just heard there from your mans, Josh Triple T Taylor, airing out Jack Catterall in reaction to his alleged shock robbery win/loss. Now, what can I say? Listen, people who have watched my post-fight reaction were quite surprised. They said, YB, we was expecting you to call a spade and expose the fact that this was a massive, biggest robbery of all time. Listen, people, the facts are this was not the biggest robbery of all time. This was actually a pretty fair result, truth be known, if you think about things objectively and you call a spade a damn spade. And this is really a key point here. Yeah? Even though Josh Taylor here is airing out and firing back at all the haters saying he got robbed, or saying he got a ticket, saying he got a gift, saying he got a Christmas present 2 months late. It's telling you, man, what time it is. Yeah, and guess what the time was? The time was Jack Catterall was clinging on for dear life. Yeah, you heard Josh Taylor there. Josh Taylor said, what, robbery? He was clinging on. Listen, if this was called clinging on, yeah, if this game was called clinging oning, yeah, and not boxing, 100%. The game is not called clinging oning. Yeah, it's called boxing. Oops. Your man, Jack Catterall, was bending at the hips and clinging on, looking like Adrian Broner. That's not boxing. That is what you call beatering. That's a beater move. And Josh Taylor, who obviously is an experienced boxer, he says, listen, I can appreciate defensive manoeuvres, as we all can. Jack Catterall weren't doing that. He was clinging. Again, most casual fans have never boxed a lick in their life. People like Josh Taylor, people like the YB, highly experienced, hand-throwing dons. Yeah, we know the intricacies. No one's going to dispute. If Jack Catterall, yeah, was slipping and countering and making his defense work and getting off on it, there'd be no questions, and he would have won the fight. But the fact that what most casuals don't realise, who've never actually participated in the sport, bending at the hips, rolling under and clinching, it's almost impossible to negate. It really is. It's like a hack. When someone bends at the hips and then rolls and grabs you, what can you do? Nothing. It spoils the fight. It's a renowned tactic, and unfortunately, that's a tactic you want to employ as a champion. Yeah? That's not a tactic you want to employ when you got not a lot to show for yourself, i.e. not a big name. There's nothing that was going to give Jack Catterall this fight, I'm afraid. There really wasn't. And in a way, to be honest, the fact he scored a knockdown and didn't pursue it and carried on, clinging on, I think it went against him. I think the judges thought, what is this guy doing? This guy don't deserve to win. He hasn't tried to do anything apart from cling on. You score a knockdown and you carry on clinging on. What does that say about the sport? What does it say about the sport of boxing, not clinging on in, that a man scores a knockdown and still is persistent on desperately hugging Josh Taylor's hips? I can't lie to you, it's super sus. Yeah? If I was Jack Catterall's girlfriend right now, I'll be thinking, damn, what's this guy trying to spend so much time sniffing Josh Taylor's jock? That's a fact. Yeah, every time Jack Catterall rolled under and started sniffing jock, and 100%, Jack Catterall was rolling, dipping at the waist and grabbing and giving a good sniff on Josh Taylor's jock strap for him. Every time. Roll under, sniff the jock and hug. Yeah? Roll under, sniff a good bit of jock, grab it close, bring it in tight, clinch the jock, sniff some more. That's what Jack Catterall was doing, I'm afraid. And you don't win a fight like that. Bottom line. Or you shouldn't, in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to go from nobody. Don't forget, people, go back and watch the way you man are gassing Jack Catterall, yeah? Go back and watch Catterall versus O'Hara Davis. That was a 50-50 fight, and literally it was draw. It was judged as such. It was a draw. He went life and death with O'Hara Davis. One of the most boring fights I've ever seen. So it's all well and good saying, oh look, yeah, Josh Taylor got pieced up. Josh Taylor was pushing the fight. Jack Catterall, when someone doesn't, Josh Taylor could have easily gone in there, yeah, and played touch butt and just tried to retain his belts. That's what O'Hara Davis did against Jack Catterall, and it was boring as you like, one of the most boring fights anyone has ever seen, and everyone complained. Josh Taylor goes in there, does his job, Jack Catterall does what he always does, and tries to spoil the fight, and somehow people are trying to advocate for Jack Catterall. No, it's called boxing. It's not called fanny around and try and nick a fight, try and nick an undisputed title, I'm afraid. Josh Taylor's done all the heavy lifting for this fight. People, I heard people trying to spin it. Oh, Jack Catterall allowed Josh Taylor. Jack Catterall, such a saint. He allowed Josh Taylor to become undisputed. He did the right thing. What? You mean Jack Catterall got paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit around? Meanwhile, Josh Taylor did all the heavy lifting and actually won the belt. Someone please make that make sense to me. Where's the saint in? Oh, I can't. Jack Catterall's trainer was gassing it up like he's done everyone a real favour. No, you got paid for doing nothing, and if anything, it shows you how lazy you are, because you could have insisted on having the shot and insisted that, you know what, no, I don't want Josh Taylor to become undisputed. I want to do it. Let me beat my mandatory now, and then I'll beat Ramirez. Oops, why didn't Jack Catterall do that? Oh no, he didn't want that, did he? He wanted to do as little as possible and just rock up and try and nick belts. I'm glad he wasn't able to do that. I'm sick of people nicking belts. Yeah, and yeah, it was Josh Taylor on point tonight and whatever else. No, was this probably his worst performance? No, it was. This was his worst performance in history. I've never seen him look so bad. It was a 1 out of 10 performance. But end of the day, that says more about Catterall in my mind. Because I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, you're in the ring with someone who's having a 1 out of 10 performance. You knock him down, and you're still trying to play touch butt in the park with Ido Portal. Yeah, you're still trying to play sniffjockstrap.com. What's wrong with this guy? Yeah, I spoke to the people at what's that famous games place? Either way, I spoke to one of these famous gaming executives, and they're thinking about launching a Jack Catterall game called Sniff Jockstrap. Yeah, Sniff Jockstrapping, 100%. And people keep saying, YB, when is EA Sports gonna launch the next Fight Night 3? And never mind Fight Night 3. Yeah, it's gonna be called Jockstrap Sniffing 3, and your man starring Jack Catterall. Love sniffing Jock. I'm sorry, but in this game of boxing, it's supposed to be clear. Yeah, you're supposed to tuck them elbows in and get stuck in, especially after having knocked someone down. You're not supposed to play sniff jock. But anyway, I'm glad that Josh Taylor isn't going down now. I can't lie to you. Yeah, the way Josh Taylor was celebrating in the ring afterwards, I think is a little gassed. And I'm intrigued to see what he says about this fight afterwards, in a week or two from now, once he's watched it. That's going to show me the true character of Josh Taylor. I'm hoping he goes away and says, you know what, I must, for my career, my legacy, rematch Jack Catterall. Even though I think this wasn't a bad decision. It maybe was a bit of a bad decision, but it wasn't a raging robbery in my opinion. But on that, having said that, it was certainly bad enough. Josh Taylor didn't do enough for this fight not to have a rematch. This fight must be rematched. Now after the fight, Josh Taylor was hinting that, oh, I'm moving up and I don't need to rematch. You do. Yeah, as much as I think you won this fight, you still must, you need to do a rematch, because you was that bad. You was that bad that you let Mr. Jockstrap Sniffer look like $1 million. Again, most of you casual dons who are rubbing off Jack Catterall right now, you've never watched one of his fights, because if you had, you'd realise that he does this all day. He's great at not doing a lot. Yeah, again, watch O'Hara Davis versus Jack Catterall and let me know how electric he was then. People don't appreciate how easy it is to sit back and sniff jock and get a few shots off once every blue moon, Of course you can. When all you're doing is being defensive and picking holes, and the other person's doing all the heavy lifting, it's easier to look slick. That's why Floyd Mayweather, to be fair, made a whole career doing that kind of stuff. Just sitting back, looking pretty and picking and prodding. Although he was a lot more active than Catterall was. Catterall was like a cheap knockoff Mayweather, who's even less active, if it's even possible. This really was an Adrian Broner style performance. Yeah, you know where Adrian Broner goes in there and just sits back and don't really want to take no risk and just sits back in the cut. It was one of them ones. Not a good look, and I think Jack Catterall gonna be feeling it, thinking, damn, because it wasn't a play. I'm not gonna lie. If he had pulled his finger out, if Jack Catterall had pulled his nose out of Josh Taylor's jock strap and got stuck in and did what he was supposed to do, boxing, he'd be the champion tonight, no doubt about it. Yeah? So listen to these words from Josh Taylor. Yes, Josh Taylor, like I said, was too gassed after the fight. Oh, I won the fight and there's no doubt about it. No, you didn't. Trust me, there was certain doubt about it. Yeah, you won the fight, but it wasn't one of them ones. Please don't think that you aced this one. This was your worst fight yet. You look like a bum in this fight, truth be known. No word of a lie. If you watch this fight, you'd conclude fairly that Josh Taylor is number one undisputed bum. That's a fair thing to say. So don't get too twisted. I saw Josh Taylor celebrating. Oh, no. There's nothing to celebrate about this fight. But, that said, or with that, either way, Catterall, it's on you, buddy. Yeah? Listen to these words from Josh Taylor, and in the rematch, we'll then see. But don't get me wrong, if Josh Taylor ducks a rematch, he's going to get it from me. Because that can't happen, I'm afraid. You haven't done enough to duck this rematch. Yeah? This rematch must happen, and then we're going to find out what's what. Because maybe this is what Jack Catterall needs to pull his finger at his backside and stop falling in love with people's jock straps. Yeah, I don't know whether you got a weird fetish or a weird, you know what I mean, one of them ones. A weird little quirky, oh, I love to sniff jock. I don't know what it is. Maybe, I don't know, you tell me. Yeah, but if that is the case, what you need to do is go and get some counselling, go and get some therapy, and work through your issues. It's no good going into the ring for undisputed and then finding out, wow, I'm still hooked on sniffing jock strap. No good. Yeah, because you spent the whole night spent the whole night nuzzling your head right into the jock. Especially in the latter rounds when it got really sweaty, and it seems to me you got some sort of affinity for sniffing sweaty jock strap, because the later the fight went on, the more you were trying to get nuzzled in. Yeah, I saw 100%. I saw Jack Catterall getting his nose right into the crevice of Josh Taylor's jock. So that's something you need to work through in your own time. It's no good bringing it to the world stage for undisputed, and then finding out, damn, I love sniffing jock. No good. Yeah, 100%, no doubt. And actually, before I go, one thing I will say, that eye from Josh Taylor does look bad. It's a bad look. Yeah, the optics of this fight is bad. It really is. That's one of the worst eye injuries well, it's not the worst, but you know what I mean. He got split all over the jock. Sorry, all over the gaff. He got a lower eye cut and an eyelid cut. Really is slashed to shiz. It may be the same eye though. Josh Taylor has had eye cut problems. So likely it's opened up. It's got a little bit more loosey-goosey. So, listen. Josh Taylor was awful. He got hit with everything under the sun. Yeah, that's why his eye got cut. Because, yeah, I'll give credit to Catterall. When he wasn't sniffing jock, the 3 punches he did throw, they were accurate, precise. And that's what cut his eyes up. But it was too little. It wasn't even too little, too late. He didn't even come on strong in the end. It was just too little, full stop. Yeah? Jack Catterall threw about 20% of the punches he should have thrown. And even that would have been conservative. Honestly, if Jack Catterall had have increased his output by 5 times, it still would have been an average performance. It wouldn't have been, you know what I mean? It wouldn't have my nipples tingling, thinking, wow,